The Mekong is one of the world's last great wild rivers, but that's about to change. A controversial plan to build the first in a series of dams is expected to get the green light this weekend, despite independent scientific advice that these projects should be frozen for 10 years. 730 understands that heavy machinery has already moved into the dam site, even before final approval is given. And as Southeast Asia correspondent Zoe Daniel reports, communities along the river say their fears about the impact on agriculture and fish stocks have not been heard.
For generations, Tan Chansuk's family has been fishing the Mekong. Here in northern Thailand, the 5,000-kilometre river they call Mother forms a natural border with Laos and supports those who live along both sides of its banks. But lately, Mother Mekong's bounty has become unreliable. Locals say that since dams were built in China and on nearby tributaries, the water level has been highly variable and the number of fish has dwindled.
Somebody said it is because of dams. It was not like this before. In the past, the water rose in the morning and fell in the evening. It's changed.
Today, Tan heads home with nothing. About 60 million people live along the Mekong as it winds its way through Thailand, Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam. It's the largest inland fishery in the world and it's a vital transport route and source of irrigation. But there are now plans for 55 dams in Laos and 2 in Cambodia. 11 are across the lower mainstream of the river. The first at Xayaburi is just upstream of here. Community advocate Campin Axorn confirms that villages on the Thai side of the river are already struggling due to the changed flow from dams on the upper reaches.
The level of water now is rising and falling daily without warning.
She says promised consultation with local communities in both Laos and Thailand about the new dam has been a farce. That's despite promises made by those proposing the dam.
The consultation has been made on household basis, village basis and community basis.
This 71-year-old woman was born here, but she says no one has asked her how the development of the river has affected it or about the new dam proposal. People who farm in the riverbed during the dry season now constantly have their crops washed away when water is released from upstream dams.
The soil washes away with the water until there's no soil left.
6 months ago, at the height of the wet season, we followed the river for 1,000 kilometres from northern Laos to the Cambodian border. Lao people told us the same story, that they're gradually losing their river-based livelihoods. Environmental groups warn of falling biodiversity in a region that rivals the Amazon and the possible extinction of threatened local species if mainstream dams disrupt fish migration and breeding. The Lao government in the seat of power, Vientiane, was then awaiting an independent scientific report commissioned by the advisory body, the Mekong River Commission, which is jointly funded by the Mekong Basin countries. That report has since recommended a 10-year moratorium on lower Mekong mainstream dams. Yet the first one looks like being approved anyway.
Evidence is that roads have been built in. Some construction equipment has certainly been moved into the dam site. This again goes against the spirit, if not the letter of the Mekong Agreement.
Professor Philip Hirsch runs the Mekong Resource Centre at the University of Sydney. He says key information hasn't been released by the Lao government and Thai developers to allow an informed decision to be made on the dam.
And so here we have a consultation process that's being done without the release of the environmental impact assessment report.
That's despite a request from a number of countries, including Australia, which is the main financial backer of the Mekong River Commission, for the decision to be delayed.
A decision on this first dam could be made as soon as the end of this week, when the member countries of the Mekong River Commission meet. If it's not made then, it must be made before the end of April. Everything's pointing towards this first dam being approved. And the concern is then that that could lead to many other dams being built on the lower mainstream of this river.
Laos plans to export its hydropower, understandably aiming to drive desperately needed economic growth. Local environmental groups warn that the impact will be irreversible.
The Mekong River can't run freely anymore. Our river will be dead. That is why the local people stand up strongly to oppose this dam.
That report from Zoe Daniel.